All right, so welcome everyone. We've already been having a little bit of fun chatting offline, but welcome to our November community coaching call. We are excited to have you guys here, and I know more will be jumping in the next few minutes. Just as a reminder, we do these monthly for our community members. So as long as you're a community member, you will get an email link to join us to this, and only you receive that. You can post questions a couple different ways. You can if you're comfortable turning on your camera and just asking it verbally, you can do that and we can have a little bit of a conversation. If you're not, that's fine as well. If you look at the bottom of your toolbar there is a chat function. If you click on that, it should open a little bar over on your right-hand side and you can just type your chats and questions in there. And also, that's a really cool way for you to chat with each other. So if you have a follow-up to something someone else said or something like that, um, that can be a good way to continue that conversation with them as well. We do ask that you do us a favor and mute yourself unless you are verbally asking a question. If you forget, we'll mute you and you might have to unmute yourself. Carla has all the power over here. Uh, but we mostly do that just to keep people from keep the dogs in the background and babies crying and doors slamming and doorbells ringing from interrupting our call. But this is recorded, so obviously you all are watching this live right now. You can ask questions live. If you ever miss one in the past or in the future, we do record these, but they are not available to the public. They're only available if you are a community member. So I think we have over 2 years now worth of monthly coaching calls, group coaching calls. So if you've missed any of those, you can go back and watch those
And
completely
there's a
for free
list of
as
what
part of your
topics
membership.
for each one, what topics we covered and stuff if you're
Mhm.
looking for specific topics. But actually, we have instead of going back to old Q&As, you may have seen if you saw the email inviting you to this one, I added something about Dave AI. So we just added a new feature for our members called Dave AI, where we added basically it's a chatbot, but it was trained by Dave. And kind of how that works is he trains it and has adjusted the answers and all that kind of stuff based on questions we think they would ask, but it's also trained on everything in our handbook and his autobiography and all of our member Q&As are dumped in there. All of our podcasts. So like if you have questions, especially something that's been covered on a Q&A or on our podcast, you can just type your question in there to Dave AI and it will answer your question as if it's Dave based on what his response was to that topic in all those sources. So anyway, those
And I
that
will
is free to members. It's pretty good.
Yep. I will tell you guys, we worked pretty hard. I mean, we spent, I don't know, 50 hours or so programming this thing. So it's not just, going to Chat GPT and pulling crap out. It's literally from me and Carla. And it is impressive slash creepy
Mhm.
how quickly we replaced me. I mean, it can analyze deals for you. You can put all the information there from P&Ls, and it will analyze them as if I'm on a coaching call with you,
Mhm.
analyzing those deals. It is really, really cool. And it gives us a lot of control in the back end as far as dashboards and stuff like that. So the more you guys use these things, of course, it's going to trip up from time to time. And whenever you trip it up, it's going to send that alert to me, and then I will go in and answer the question, not live, but I will go in and answer the question so that the next time somebody asks a similar or like-minded question, it'll now know the answer. So we're going to continue to always be training it. But this is me and Carla training it. This is not, the World Wide Web training it. So it's very cool. Like she said, it's a free tool in the community membership. So I would recommend you use that whether you're just getting into the industry and want to scope out deals and due diligence and things like that. It's way more powerful than even I thought it was. I sometimes I can't figure out how it knows that answer, but I'm like, yeah, that is what I would say, but I don't even remember telling it that type of thing. So it's very, very cool. Check that out. And we will be always adding additional things to the community membership. But let's get right into it because we have limited time today. I know we'll have more people introduce themselves in the future, but one thing I do want to do right off the bat is just introduce one of our business partners, Larry. Trabani with Laundromat Millionaire Insurance. Some of you may have met him if you've been to one of our workshops, or you may have met his business partner, our business partner, Joel. He was at the last one with Brandon. But they are awesome people and they make themselves available. Sometimes they're both in here, sometimes it's just one, because they are laundromat guys. They've been insuring the laundromat industry for over 25 years. And so if you ask any insurance questions, I'm sure we'll have an opinion or two, but Larry is the true expert. So, Larry, we appreciate you being here today just to kind of give value. And Larry obviously spends all day, every day, and Joel talking to and networking with laundromat owners. So, even though they don't technically own a laundromat, they're pretty daggone knowledgeable about the industry just from rubbing elbows with some of the best in the industry. So every once in a while, he'll even jump in with a comment on a laundromat of something he's heard from what somebody else does or those types of things. So very cool for him to be here as a resource. Um, did I miss anything, Carla?
I don't think so.
No?
All right, what do y'all want to talk about? Who has something, a topic?
And I always tell people, if you don't ask questions, I'm just going to start rambling about laundromats and you never know where I'm
No,
going to go with it. So hopefully you all have some questions. Hi, Craig and Michelle. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, Dave.
Yeah,
I actually just have a statement and a thoughts. We
sure.
recently updated our pricing for the self-service crew.
Mhm.
So
Did you say your pricing?
we
Is that what you said?
our pricing.
Pricing.
So
Okay.
Dave, you helped build the store from the beginning. We've never
Yep.
touched pricing.
Yep.
So it was a big move and kind of a
Hmm.
scary one because we are feeling like people are just going to run. Uh, I could pull up the price list, but we went up by about a dollar increase, and that was over a 2 year period. So it's about a 3% increase.
Oh,
And
geez.
it
That's
depends on
nothing.
this. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But it depends on the size of the machine. Obviously, the smaller ones went up by a buck. The
Hmm.
largest ones, I think about $2, I think. We
Okay.
introduced gradient pricing where
Okay.
it's cold, warm, and hot, and
Hmm.
then on the dryers, it's low, medium, and high. We also introduced this concept of a super wash. We're a Dexter store, so
Hmm.
we have that capability through the app to have the person say, "Well, I want to do everything," and they do super wash, and they get all sorts of pre and post washing.
Hmm.
So that is a change that happened in this last week. I've been doing just polling of the staff. Was it detrimental? Do the customers, are they frustrated? They're angry? And quite honestly, people are not even mentioning it. Michelle did a great job of letting everybody know the change was coming. And we put notices all over the store, including posting out online that this change was coming. And I think we've had maybe three customers even just kind of mention it. The
Hmm.
rest just simply pay the new price. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's just an experience I wanted to relate to the group here.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah, when you first said a dollar, I was like, okay, let's think about that for a second. It's in context, but when you told me it's roughly 3%, I suspected you'd get a whole bunch of nothing burgers out of it. Because that's a pretty. I know it's a dollar, rounded or whatever, but yeah, that 3%, I would not expect anyone to hear or say anything, especially if that's a first increase you've done since your retool, which has been pushing 2 years. Is that about
Mhm.
right? Like,
It just we're
yeah.
coming right up on the 2 year mark in
Okay.
January. The other
Yeah.
thing, Dave, that we did was we increased our pickup and delivery and drop off service
Okay.
rates up to
Good.
two from 235 to 250.
Okay.
Based on your course and the
Hmm.
calculation of the 30%, we should be running about $3 a pound. But
Okay.
no one else in our area is at that rate.
Mhm.
I to go $3 from 235 is a bit much, so we stepped
Yeah.
up to 250. I expect every 6 months we're going to be increasing
Hmm.
that until we get up to the $3 mark, and we offer a superior service to the
Hmm.
other laundries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, that we've heard multiple times from folks that have actually gotten wash dry fold done from the different laundries in our
Hmm.
area, and they
Mhm.
they relate to Michelle, and she probably has a lot of examples. They relate to her that we are, Monster Laundry is absolutely the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want to hear.
Well, in worst case, you might have some people that haven't tried other services. You raise your price and they're like, well, this other one is advertising cheaper. They try it and
They're
then they
like,
come
oh,
back
never
to you.
mind. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. As we talk about in the workshop, it's not easy to be the best. There takes an awful lot of strategy, awful lot of years of experience that we kind of pour into you in the workshop, and then you guys go and you execute it, right? And you immediately fire, shoot you right up to the top of your industry, or top of your market. So you should be the most expensive unapologetically. So yeah, I don't think it should take you too terribly long. I probably wouldn't go from 235 to 3. That's pretty aggressive. I don't know what percentage that is, but
Also, there's
uh,
the whole like psychological thing about when it starts with a different number, like three, even when you go 235 to 299, like I swear it still works. We all know 299 is $3, but we just don't think of it as being as big.
it is, but I do want to say this too, that something I've learned over 15 years in the industry and coaching a lot of people is it is a real thing. I'm not saying it's not, but man, I think it actually hinders us, the laundromat owners. I think it paralyzes us more than it does our customers to go from 299 or 290 or whatever over $3, and I hear it even at $2, 199, 189. Oh, I don't want to break that $2 threshold. I've done that multiple times, and it's never been a big deal. So I do think if you're going to be at 305, you might as well be at 299 and take advantage of that psychology. But I also think that when it's time to exceed that, to break that $2, $3, $4 threshold, whatever it is, I think we paralyze ourselves. So I think that psychology is real, but I do think we, what's the word I'm looking for? I think we make it a bigger deal than maybe it really is. I think it's a rather, I don't want to say insignificant, but I think it's a small thing, not a big thing.
But I
So,
think if you're like, well, it should be $3, just be $2.99. Now, when you're ready to be 305 or 309 or
yep.
something like that, then go ahead and go to it.
And I just know
But
too, and I did it when we broke the $2 threshold for a lot of things, but drop off and pick up and delivery. And it was just a big nothing burger. I mean, it just didn't register to them at all. Now, would it register a little bit more, with self-serve, maybe we're a little bit less, more price sensitive there. But especially on pickup and delivery, as we know, if we're chasing the right avatar, the odds are they're just not too focused on 10 cents. Like Carla mentioned, they're probably tried a few other providers, the Sud shares of the world. And as we know, there is a giant difference, literally double or triple in their price and ours sometimes. And they're still willing to pay for our price. And you've just differentiated yourself and you've just attracted the right avatar. That's a big part of that execution. So good for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Michelle might be able to tell the story more about the pickup and delivery and drop off. I don't think they even care.
Yeah,
The 250. Yeah, she's
that's the
shaking her
goal.
head no.
That's
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, 235 to 215, Carla, what is that as a percentage? Oh, he said it was Did you say it was three or that
Well,
was
no,
self-serve?
that was on
That
the
was self-serve.
self-service.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I don't know. I'd have to do the math.
15%. Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty small. So if I mean you already did it, so it is what it is. But if you were to ask me that question before you did it, I probably would have went above 250, but I probably wouldn't have went to $3
About
for sure.
6%, roughly.
That
yeah.
6 or 7%.
Yeah, we have competition is below $1 in a lot of
Yeah,
cases, but those
sure.
are the one person shops that are
Hmm.
just basically
Yep.
they're not scaling like we
Yep.
are.
And they're
Yeah.
not capable of it. I mean, they get to 6, 8, 10 orders a week, and that's all they're capable of. Whether it's them as an independent or them, operating under a sud share or a rinse platform or something like that. We have a ton of those in Cincinnati too.
Mm.
We always say they're legit competitors. I mean, some of them do a really good job, but they can only have 10 customers. Well, how much are they going to affect us when we have 6,000 customers? It just doesn't really register. So, um, and they're if they're smart and they're hustlers and they're doing a great job quality wise, they're going to figure out really quickly that they're drastically underpricing their services, and that's usually what happens. I've had a few of them. I wouldn't say I've coached them like paid coaching type of thing, but I have had a lot of people that are using that business model approach me at conferences and things like that. And they're like, "Hey, I'm just doing it in my basement or my garage or the local laundromat or whatever type of thing. What do you think about this?" And I tell every one of them the same thing. I said, "If you're providing a high quality service, I think you're underpricing yourself by 50%." And they're like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
And you're probably not making any money.
you're probably not. I mean, especially if they account for their labor." So
Yeah.
anyway, very cool. Good for you. Keep raising prices.
Brandon,
Thanks.
looks like Brandon has a
Yeah,
question.
Brandon.
I gotta ask. I want to ask because you're on the call, Craig, about the Robot. How's that
Oh
going?
yeah.
Our
Yeah.
customers I'm all about with the stores we're starting to get ready to open up. I'm all about finding things that are I don't know.
Yeah, so
interesting.
Dyna and Monster Laundry are putting out a press release. And so Saturday I worked the numbers and it was surprising. So the numbers came from September. And, if you look at Monster as a company, we've been growing tremendously from the start. I should pull up the article, but from
They were just
the
on
Sep-
our podcast, tripled their
yeah,
revenue.
yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, you look back and obviously I'm got the nose to the grindstone. I can't see the big picture sometimes, but when you step back, we've absolutely just killed it in the last 2 years, and the growth has been just exceptional. When we look at September's laundry that was folded through Dyna Robotics, Sophie Swift Fold, it accounts for this is an estimate, but accounts for 1/4 of an FTE.
Oh wow!
So
How much does it cost?
you have to talk to Dyna about the exact pricing, but it's robotics as a service. At that 1/4 of an FTE, it's not breaking even yet, but it's
Okay.
getting close. It's getting
Okay.
very close.
It,
So yeah.
Do
Craig,
they
can you
expect
explain
it
to
to
people what you
get
mean?
like, do they expect a learning curve where like over some number of months it will start to
Yeah,
become more productive?
absolutely. We just got they we've got a DynaRobotics employee in the store all day long, just simply using joysticks through the robot arms to fold the laundry. And every movement that he makes is being recorded, and then that gets fed into a model. They just published a new model, and the speed improvements were tremendous. So over time, this will get much more efficient, and that 1/4 of an FTE will actually, the time to fold the laundry is going to shrink. So that just
Hmm.
increases, the
It's
avoidance of hiring another employee. Yeah.
it started with one over a minute for one towel, and now they're doing 200 towels in about 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Do they need more partners to test stuff with? Is there any way to?
He's in San Diego, so he's not
Not
super far.
super far.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I I would
we
reach
can
out
get
to
you.
Izzy.
Easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Brandon, we can get her your contact, her
That,
contact information.
I
Yeah,
would appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be great.
I
very, very cool.
I think there was another thought there, but the overall, it's getting close to breaking even, where the cost per, we're currently in a pilot, so Monster's not paying right now for this, and the goal is to get to break even on that system.
And I think and I'm sure that things change frequently, Brandon, but we did a live stream with them with Craig at their booth at the Clean Show. At that time, I think they were looking at like a leasing model
Mhm.
where they were like
Oh,
looking at, and I think this is very loose because they're a relatively new startup, but I think they were looking at like a leasing per hour type of model. Now I'm sure there will be a lot of things that change in there, but
They
I don't know
realize
that they
their
even gave
price
us.
point is too high for laundromat owners at this point.
Yeah.
right.
So they're looking
Absolutely.
at other options to make it a more affordable
Yeah, and I
thing.
think just to make up a number, if I can lease, what is it you call her, Sophie? If I can lease Sophie
Yeah,
or my version of Sophie for, let's just make up numbers, $10 an hour, and I know I have to pay my people $20 an hour. In theory, if she can produce at the same level they can, which she can't right now, but maybe someday, then my labor costs will cut in half, right? In
Yeah.
theory. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of where they're trying to get to, but I think they're still pretty early. And I think she's still pretty slow. But it sounds like I'm trying to math that out real quick, Michelle. One did you say one a minute? So that's 60 an hour. So it's 120 for two
Rather
hours.
than
And
like 40 seconds.
she's now
Yeah.
at 200 per 2 hours, I think is what she said.
Yeah,
So that's not quite
200.
a 50%, not 40.
Not
Is
yet.
that? Yeah. Yeah. But that's still pretty good since that's in
Yeah.
September to now to November.
Yeah, the very
You-
first one was over a minute per
Okay.
towel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now
Okay.
we're starting to be try to find more stuff for her to do because she's
Yeah.
finishing up so much faster.
Yeah.
Do,
Nice.
do you think
Do
there's
y'all
any
have
draw like as a novelty where you can advertise that you got a robot folding stuff and it'll bring more customers to your?
Yeah, we do that. So it's a lot of our advertising on Facebook and stuff. It's pretty much mainly on Sophie. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I know they've had like the news come out and do a feature on them because of this technology in their laundromat and stuff. So they're taking
Yeah.
advantage of it.
yeah, we did that. I don't know, Brandon, don't base your business models around having a bump in people excited to come see
No.
the laundry, the
Yeah,
laundry robot. No,
yeah.
there was definitely when we did the Big Bang, we had all of the local news come out. I mean, the KCRA, we have 28,000 views of that
Yeah.
post from KCRA.
Wow.
So if there's a buzz about Monster Laundry has a robot. Oh yeah, what about this thing? So it creates this buzz in the background, which is definitely valuable. But in that initial, launch, we saw a lot more people coming in to check it out. But that dies down over time. We're at
Hmm.
the tail edge of it. But ultimately, the Monster Laundry as a site is getting a ton of validity because
Yeah.
of all of this activity that's happening,
Hmm.
and the backlinking of like whether it's Dave or the different podcasts we've been part of.
Hmm.
So that all helps. So there's something there, and I believe in it, but it's not I can't draw a direct line.
Hmm.
Hey, we made all this money because of
Yeah, it's
the
hard to
social. Yeah,
quantify, but there's value, but it's hard to quantify the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had TVs come out and stuff like that too, and I've always said like, of course there was value, but I can't put a number on what it was. So anyway, but before we move on, Craig, you mentioned FTE. In case someone's watching this now or in the future and they're not familiar with that term, can you just explain that real quickly, just so they're on
Sure, yeah.
the same page?
FTE is an abbreviation for a full-time equivalent of an
Hmm.
employee in your
Yep.
store. So that's can different people, they'll either say that's 2,000 hours a year or 2,080. It's
Hmm.
just you take 40 hours a week times, 52 years.
Yeah.
That's a full-time equivalent. So when I said 1/4 of an FTE,
Hmm.
we can avoid hiring a quarter of a year of an employee for
Yeah.
in Sophie replaces that. So it's
Hmm.
that has a lot of benefit because employees are a different kind of category. They're absolutely needing the laundry, but a piece of equipment is a different
Hmm.
beast, if you will.
Yeah,
It
for sure.
doesn't take smoke breaks.
Yes. Yeah. I saw one of the staff go out and take a smoke break, and I'm like, oh, that's that thing I heard
Hate
about.
smoke breaks. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's Carlos' pet peeve.
Pet peeve. It's like it's something I wish that we could take away, especially because they handle the laundry. Like we do make them like wash their
Wash their
hands and
hands.
everything when they come in, but I'm just like, does that deter people from
She's
wanting their
sensitive to
clothes?
that smell.
I am.
Yep.
I hate the smell of smoke. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone.
Yes, Steve, I was just thinking the same thing, unless the robot is smoking, right? That's a big, he says that's a big problem.
It's
Yes,
a different kind of smoke.
different kind of. Awesome.
We
What other
do,
questions
yeah.
do we have? Sorry, go ahead,
What were
Michelle.
you gonna sell?
I said we do that at our laundry too. Like it's every load they clean the cart. Like
Yeah.
because I cannot stand the smell of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one more thing Craig didn't realize, I think this was on your formal podcast, is we actually formally release our drugs and alcohol policy to
Nice.
include medical marijuana,
Yeah.
smoking on during the
Mhm.
shift, and we had one just leave.
Walk out.
That's it.
Yep.
Walk out.
We actually just up in Ohio just made it legal recreationally. Um, I forget what not the last election, but the one before that, maybe a year ago now.
Mhm.
But anyway, so we had to update that because we'd have employees and customers just standing on the sidewalk.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so the handbook that we have online, if you go into our shop and it's discounted for members, but you can download the employee handbook, but it has the drug and alcohol policy in there and it's updated for Ohio's marijuana laws.
Yep.
And I know when we chat GPT'd it and stuff, and apparently it varies by state. So you'll have to see what you can restrict in your state. The restrictions for marijuana, there's a lot more restrictions you can do for that than for just cigarette smoke, obviously. So we can forbid our employees from doing it anywhere on our property or even coming and smelling like it, like they may have been under the
Yeah,
influence.
it's a lot around the law is what's the right word I'm looking for? It gives you a lot of flexibility and leeway around private property.
Yeah.
Because they're, your employees are on private property. And obviously when they're on the clock handling machinery, I mean, alcohol is legal too, but you can't be drunk, right?
Yeah.
Type of thing. It's like the same kind of concept. So there's an awful lot of flexibility there for you and for your team members, but also for your customers. A lot of customers think just because it's legal, I can just do whatever I want to do. And it's like, not on private property, you can't. And we've had some customers leave over it. And we're like, see, you're not going to stand on the sidewalk and, smoke pot. So, but that's our choice. We obviously can allow that if we want to. So anyways, what else we got? I see we got a few other people have jumped in here. Welcome everyone. We're glad to have you guys.
Michael.
Yep. What other questions do we have? And just as a reminder, since some of you have joined.
I don't know how to say your last name, Ezeguire. Raise your
Yes.
hand. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
I'm Renzo's wife.
Yes, I was pretty sure that I was right about that. I'm like, that's Eric Estrada's wife. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, sorry guys, inside joke, clean show and the workshop.
Yeah, at the last
Yes.
workshop, you all met Renzo. So
Yes.
Brandon and John were at the last workshop as well. So they got to meet your husband.
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. He wasn't able to make it. He took his mom to the doctor today, but I jumped in to fill in. And I have a couple questions. So since
Okay.
we were on the topic of innovation, basically, we decided to invest in the Presso machine at the Clean
Okay.
Show, but we were unsure about that air touch stain removal machine. What do you guys think about that one machine? Is it worth it? Or would it be better to have like our staff like specifically trained on stain removals and stuff like that?
I think my answer to you would be both. We've
Okay.
obviously been doing stave removal for, 12, 15 years, whatever it's been.
Mhm.
And pretty much every year we've gotten better at it. Some of that is finding better commercial grade products,
And his
finding,
handbook has all the products we use for each stain type
yep,
and all that kind of
all of them
stuff.
are in there and where we get them from the distributors and everything. Pricing per unit is all in the handbook.
Okay.
But that being said, I do want to say this because I've heard a few rumors and I don't know what's true and not true. At the show, they were selling them, I believe, for $4,000. And I
Yes.
thought that was fantastic. And I
Mm-hmm.
asked for one and ordered one, and I don't think they've shipped
They
any
haven't
yet.
shipped any yet.
But,
They're
No.
still
They're
they're
coming
still
out.
building them.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
think they got
Yeah,
more orders
April.
for those than they did for Pressos. So we are
Yes.
going to get one, even though our team is honestly pretty good at stain
Okay.
removal. So that should probably answer part of your question.
Okay.
Now I have heard since then, and I wish somebody from Presso was here because I don't feel comfortable stating this. I've heard from people that after that was the show price, and after
Mm-hmm.
the show they're selling them for 10,000.
Yes, we heard that too.
And I don't know if that's true. I want to be very clear. If
Yeah.
that is true, I would take a big old gulp and be like, wow, that might
Yeah.
not, and they haven't asked my opinion, but if they did, I would say, I think you got a little aggressive there, and your clean show hype might have caused you to raise that's a pretty, 150%
Yeah.
increase is pretty aggressive. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if the 4,000 is a loss, or I don't know, maybe it was, who knows what the, strategy marketing
And
wise.
as they do more, they might be able to get the price down.
Yeah, for
cost
sure.
them
But
down.
to answer your question, I think it's a very cool machine. One of the things I
Okay.
told them during our live stream at the Clean Show is I don't, I mean, I think a lot of us, want and need and are going to find a use for a Presso as we move forward. I actually think they'll sell more of those. I think they'll sell more stain units than they will Pressos, is
Okay.
my opinion, because I can see plenty of use cases for having that stain machine in there. The air touch is what they call it.
Yes.
But I can see more use cases for that than for the Presso.
Okay.
But I think both, I think that Nishant, the CEO, I think he told me after the show, I was talking to him one day, and I think he said they sold like 38 Pressos deposits for 38
Mm-hmm.
Pressos, and I think they said 47 air
Oh,
touches.
wow.
So I
A
mean,
lot of the dry cleaners were coming
Yeah.
and getting the air touches
Yep.
where they don't need the Presso because they have the full,
Right.
already all the machines. The Presso kind of
Dry clean.
is a replacement instead of all those machines in a dry cleaning plant. But the air touch,
Mhm.
that's a person doing
Yeah.
stain removal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm
But
sure
it's definitely
it'll get
worth it.
better.
It was
Yeah.
so easy to use. I don't know if you saw the live we did,
Yeah.
but they had
Oh,
me
actually,
like
it
remove a stain or whatever. So easy to use.
was.
Like it's just a few touches of buttons and then it's done.
does everything.
I mean, the
Yeah.
only thing is it takes a person, moving each stain, like investigating it, seeing if it needs more treatment and moving the fabric around.
Yeah.
But literally, like while it's running, you can be off doing other stuff. And then you just check
Mhm.
it each time it stops and see if that got it or not.
Yeah, one of the pieces of feedback I gave them is I think and I think they knew this for smaller stains, which most stains tend to be smaller. I think it's just absolutely amazing for the reasons Carla mentioned. For bigger stains, I mean, if you were to try to use that unit versus just putting it on a stain table or something like spotting table or something like that, for bigger stains, you'd have to actually stay there and babysit it because it only does a certain diameter
Mhm.
around
Right.
the needle or whatever tip they were
The
using.
spear tip.
Yeah, whatever that
Mhm.
is. It only does a parameter or diameter so big around that. And it didn't seem to be very big. Now maybe that can be adjusted too.
It
I'm
was
not sure.
adjustable, but still only as big as like the little
Okay.
area. Like
It was. Okay.
it probably about as big as it could do is maybe like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. But we have ordered one, just so you know. So we're big
Okay.
fans. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
We were
Yep.
unsure. We did put the down payment for
Mhm.
for both.
Yeah.
But like Renzo and I have been speaking and we're like he's a little bit more unsure about it. I was like, no,
Mhm.
I think it's worth it. It's innovation. It's
Yeah. I think it's
you gotta
pretty
invest
cool.
in that too.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So
We
we're
put a
excited to
deposit
get it. I'm
on
not sure when that'll
So-
be. What did you say, Brandon? You put a
We
deposit
put a
down?
deposit. I don't even have a store open yet. And I put
Yeah,
a deposit
yeah.
on it.
There you go.
So
Well,
we
Michelle,
tried,
yeah.
we looked at it, and then the problem with the the stain remover is they need a broiler. So I know we
Mhm.
sat down with oh my God, what's his name? Craig,
The
do you
steam-
remember his name?
From Presso,
From
Cam.
Presso.
Nishant,
Not
Cam.
Cam. So
Yeah,
we sat
Tebow.
down and talked to
Mhm.
them about, is there any way to get like that without the broiler? So they said that's the next iteration coming
Mhm.
up because
Mhm.
a lot of people were asking for it without the whole Presso machine because
Yep.
we don't have
Mhm.
space for it. But
Yep.
But they
And
make a small
we,
boiler because we saw that at some of the dry cleaning things. They do make a small boiler you can
Steam boiler.
attach to a small
Yeah.
steam because we were looking at ironers,
I
like
don't
a
think
small
Presso does
ironer.
that.
Presso doesn't,
Yeah.
but you can get a
You,
small
you
boiler.
can
Yeah.
get a small steam boiler. I do know it is designed, just to clarify for everybody listening or in the future. So it requires a steam boiler, but if you have a Presso, the Presso has a steam boiler built into it. So the air touch hooks up to the Presso and uses that steam boiler. But what Michelle's saying is if you don't have a Presso machine and you don't have a dry cleaning plant, then you wouldn't have a steam boiler. So then how are you going to use this? Carla is also correct. You can purchase aftermarket, much smaller, less more inexpensive steam boilers for just like 1 or 2 units. How that would hook up, you'd probably have to talk to Presso about that. But I would venture they're going to venture to, and they haven't told me this. I'd venture to say they're before too long. They're going to probably have a standalone unit that has its own steam boiler in it, and maybe that's where the 10 grand's coming in. I don't know the answer to that. But anyway, yeah, I think it's super cool innovation what those guys are doing, and I know they have some other products that are complementary to Presso that they're going to be rolling out that they're not talking about yet. So, what that team is doing is really really cool. That niche they're fitting right between, I call it between a true dry cleaning plant and a laundromat, and for those of us that want to kind of operate in that middle ground, I think is super cool. So, I'm a big fan of just supporting theirs in general. What they're doing is very cool. Craig, you raised your hand. Did you have a comment or a question or no?
No, somebody was walking by just waving at
Oh,
them.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I see Steve says Presso's website shows the AirTouch is 9450.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was at a workshop or I've been to 2 conferences since the Clean Show other than our workshop. So I think it was at one of those conferences somebody told me that it was going to be 10 grand and I was like, wow, that's
Does it say on the website if that
I
includes a
heard the
boiler?
same thing. I remember
Okay.
the same thing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to them about it that I know of, but if I did, I would respond something like, holy crap, that's crazy.
No boiler required. So that's without
Oh,
boiler
it does
too.
say no boiler. Well, maybe that's
Yeah.
the upgrade they made. That would make, I mean, you want to charge me 10 grand, but it includes, and now has a steam boiler built into it. Okay, I could go for that. I could see that being a little bit more. There we go. We're getting some stats on it. So
All right.
good. You can always
Steve.
just go to the Presso machine too. So thanks, Steve.
And it says Michael has raised his hand. Michael, do you
Yep.
have a question?
Yeah, I figured I'd just bring something up that I'm kind of working through now.
Yeah.
So I live in like my store is in an urban environment. Everything is close together. There's not much parking. This is a pickup and delivery.
He's in New Jersey, just so
Yeah,
everybody
New
knows.
Jersey, Union City, and so it's a pickup and delivery thing so I'm using the on-demand drivers through Sense.
Okay.
I don't have a van right now. I'm trying to balance price and, because I think what the problem I'm having is people are churning out after they use the service, and I'm thinking it's because they're paying separate delivery costs. Now, there is a subsidy option where you can, so right now I have $5 off of each way, but they're still having to pay a fee. So again, I'm just working on balancing the price of the actual service with what, the shipping costs are as well. The problem is, like I said, I think people are seeing that the shipping costs in most other places that have vans are free shipping. But, the cost per pound is much higher than what I'm at. But I think people are seeing shipping and they don't like that. Everyone's used to Amazon, everything's free shipping. And
by shipping, you mean delivery?
Delivery. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
sorry, yes,
charge.
delivery.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a question in there or was that just a comment? Sorry.
I mean, it's just a topic.
What are
Just like I said, something I'm working through and, trying to balance what the pricing should be or if I should maybe go for, offering more of a subsidy so that the delivery price is much lower. Because I don't have the cost of the van and the driver and all that. So I can, which I'm doing, offer a much lower price per pound. But I don't know. I guess maybe it's calculating how much I could offer as a subsidy because I don't have those other costs. Right now, I said it's $10 an order.
Yeah, if you think about, and I think almost everyone on this screen has been to our workshop. Yeah, everybody has. I mean, other than obviously Renzo isn't here, but his wife is here for him. I'm guessing she's read the handbook from the front to back. But anyway, so I think everybody else has been to the workshop. So if you think about the silos, this is a very like basic generic approach that I've told people, I've seen people use successfully. If you just think of the silos of the 16% of your cost, you could subsidize that because you don't have those costs. They don't exist. And at a minimum, you're breaking even. Does that make sense from a very
Hmm.
quick high level? But where it gets tricky
Okay.
when I've coached people through this process, where it gets tricky is if you get too far from your store, because obviously the Uber cost like goes through the roof if you're just more than even a few miles out, right?
Hmm.
Exponentially, it's way more than 16%. And that's where, in my opinion, it just doesn't make a lick of sense. And I can't imagine why somebody would pay. The only exception to that is there are always, let's use the word emergency, right? That we always find people in a some sense of urgency that to a certain extent money's no object, right? Like I'm in such a bind that I need you to take care of this and I want it to be you and your company, Michael. Um, that I don't care if it's an extra $30. I don't care if it's double, right? Now I don't know that we're going to build a business model around that, but I think those are the two nuances to be careful with is when you get very far from your store, that cost jumps from 5, 10, $12 to 24, 30, $36. And if I were to use it, which I haven't, I would use it for either that purpose and I would stay very close to my store, almost like the on-demand model that we talk about in the workshops. Or I would use it as a supplementary thing where, in addition to our 2 routes a week, or 3 routes a week, or 4 routes a week, if you don't want to fall into one of those route based systems or wait till Thursday and it's Wednesday or that type of thing, okay, well, then if you really don't want to wait, once again, you have some sense of urgency here. And in that case, I would think most of those types of clients would be willing to pay a little bit more. But those are the approaches that I've seen used successfully. Without even going down the rabbit hole of the nuances of, do you really want Uber or DoorDash associated with your brand and, the guy pulling up the jalopy who, got
The
a
quality of your
got a joint
delivery.
hanging out of his mouth or whatever. Do you really want him delivering or picking up laundry representing your brand? That's a whole different conversation. But just economics, you have to stay really close because I mean, heck, me and Carla, like in the rain and stuff at like conferences or clean show, it'd be like 3 blocks, but it's pouring down rain and we'll hop in an Uber just to avoid walking in the rain for 3 blocks type of thing. And I mean, it's still like $12, like to take us and drop us 3 blocks this way and 4 blocks this way and drop us off in Atlanta or whatever type of thing. So I mean, they don't have to be very far from your store. 3 or 4 blocks would be further. Yeah, obviously, a mile would be a lot further than that. And now
I,
you're talking $20. So it
I think
gets
it'll be interesting to see once you do get your own van and people have the option of free delivery with your van, but maybe they have to wait a couple more days or whatever. If you see, because right now you're not giving them an option,
correct.
right?
Correct.
They have to use
They have
the
to
gig
use it.
economy, right? Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep. And one of the things we've kind of taught people on using it effectively is the supplementary, which I described that we will probably do someday very lightly. And the other one is what I call dipping your toe, where if you're not real sure you're going to do pickup and delivery yet, or you're not sure your market will support it, which I don't know that either one of those apply to you, Michael. But I think your market will definitely support it. I think you know that. And I think you've already decided to do it. It's just maybe down the road type of thing. But when you put all those factors in, I think it's just a matter of when you're ready to invest in a van and actually jump with both feet in. But doing this in the meantime, I mean, I think it's kind of six of one, half dozen of the other. Could it hurt your launch, slow down your launch, hurt your brand in some ways by doing that? I think it could. But also, if it's that or have no customers in the next 6 months, well, I mean, I'll take the customers I can get with a DoorDash. Is kind of the two approaches that I would use.
Hmm. Okay.
But
Thanks.
obviously, and I don't know, are you using Sense or are you using something else?
He's using
Yeah,
Sense.
sense.
Sense. Okay. And I don't know in this because once again, I'm not doing it yet, but I do know that Sense and I think even other platforms that are using the Ubers and the DoorDashes, one of the comments I've given to all of them is yeah, it's cool that the feature's there, but I think it could be much more nuanced. Like I think it could work much more effectively if we could drill down on the nuance of how we use it, just boom, that it exists. But if I could kind of customize how I use it, an example of that would be it probably makes a lot more sense for somebody to pay a $25 delivery fee one way, which would be 50 both ways, if they're sending you 200 pounds of laundry, right? As an example. Because I don't know what the 16%, that'd probably work out to be about that, about $30, right? On a 200, well, actually be more than that, a price, that 200 pounds, it'd be more than that.
Well, ew, isn't
Where
it
if you're just picking up
Uber,
one load
you're
of laundry,
capped though as to how many pounds you can even send?
you are, I think that's the driver that caps that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's so those are things to consider too, but I don't know if in the software we can offer, I guess what I'm getting at is I don't know in the software if we can offer the DoorDash integration, Uber integration, whatever, but have a higher minimum. And does anybody know the answer to that? I don't honestly know the answer to that, but I don't think, I think in sense, whatever the minimum is, like if they call it your own routes, if I have a $40 minimum, I think that same minimum applies to the DoorDash or the Uber. But if we could customize those two so that the DoorDash integration and Uber integration has its own set of rules and guardrails around it that are
Mhm.
different than the route-based or what they call own drivers. This is the lingo that Sense uses, and I'm pretty sure that's not the case in Sense right now. But that's another example of, I mean, does it make sense to pay $30 to have you drive 2 miles and pick up 12 pounds of laundry? Well, no. But if it were 120 pounds of laundry, then that same trip of 20, $30 is rather insignificant and could easily fit within your 16% silo.
Right.
Did
I
you
have
follow?
had some
Did you
issues
follow that?
kind of around this,
Okay.
and we had a nursing home with a large order, and
Hmm.
I've had multiple drivers walk in and see,
Not want to get it.
15 bags
Yeah.
and just like, I'm not taking it and walk
Uh-huh.
out.
Yep. That's the other side of it is you get, that's what Carla was talking about. You get too big, and that's the other side of it where
Hmm.
our drivers see that they just, tighten up your belt and let's go. Let's get to work,
Right. Hmm.
And that, I mean, to have a driver visit somewhere, I don't care whose driver it is, I'm paying for them one way or the other. To have them go and refuse an order, just not a fan.
Yeah.
I would blow a
Yeah.
gasket.
Yeah, there could be it could definitely be
Yeah.
better the
Yeah.
way, like you said, some more nuance
Yeah.
and controls to it. I'm not even sure. Can you do both? Can you offer on demand and your own driver, or
Mhm.
is it one or the other?
You can, but at least in Sense, and I don't know about the other platforms, but in Sense right now, the rules of engagement is the term I use, have to be the same. And it's one of the feedbacks I've given to them is that if they operated on their own set of rules, everything about the gig economy, let's call it that, everything about the gig economy outsourcing had its own set of rules of engagement,
Yeah.
right? Different distances, different zip codes, different days of night or nights of day or windows or
Hmm.
all the different things we talk about in the workshop, right? Even
Yep.
pricing, if I could have a minimum of, okay, well, I will do a DoorDash integration or pickup in this window, but only if it's $100 or more, not $40 or more. And
Hmm.
I will eat up to, I will eat up to 16% of that or whatever type of thing. And I know right now, in sense, those nuances do not exist. And I
Yeah,
have told
they're not
them
there right
that,
now.
yeah, that is why I haven't done it, is because I plan on using it as much more of a supplement. Like these are my
Hmm.
standard rules of engagement. And if you want to fall into one of those, you're going to get, frankly, a better service and a better price.
Hmm.
But if you don't want to fit into those guardrails, then we have this other set of guardrails with a different price point associated with it, meaning you might have to pay for the pickup and delivery. And if I could even have a different minimum around that and a different service area, you guys know this, but our service area is 30 minutes from our store, north and west. Which is for an Uber is completely untenable. You're not going to pay
Ridiculous.
$100, right, one way.
Right.
Type of thing. So that's the feedback I've given a Sense, and I think they understand that the feature or the tool that is on demand um, integration. I think it would be much more used if it could behave in its own set of rules. Is
Yeah.
how I've given it to them.
Yeah.
How
Right now
how
it's just
how serious they are about that, I'm not sure.
yeah, it's set up the same way, right? So
Yeah,
whatever my minimum is, that's what the
right.
minimum is for DoorDash.
Yeah. And I know when we started, because just recently, like 6 months ago, I finally kind of released the hounds of my team and myself and said, all right, we're going to dive down into this after years of putting it off to the side. And within 2 hours, I'm just on the phone with Gilly, like, this is never, absolutely not going to work because everything I need
Mhm.
it to do is what I don't do. I don't need it to do what I already do. I need it to do what I don't do, and it would only do what I already did. And I was just like, this is asinine. This is stupid, type of
Yeah.
thing. So I don't know how aggressive they are in changing that. I think some of that had to do with actual the companies, the DoorDashes and the Ubers, of whether they would do that, and I think some of it had to do with the sense and the platform and the way it was built. They very much built that integration. I know I want to get on other calls, but or other questions, but they very much built that integration to work as an alternative to your own
Mhm.
trucks. When they were new to the industry, they thought this is just going to revolutionize the industry. We don't need our own trucks. We just do everything through DoorDash and Uber. And I think that for the most part has fallen flat on its face.
Mhm.
I think most people in the industry agree that's not a great option.
Yeah,
But
I'm seeing that now. I'm
yeah,
trying to use it
yeah,
as an easier option. It sounds
yeah.
good, and then it's just like
It does.
not really
It sounds really
working the
good
way
in
I
like
want it to.
theory, as I always say in the macro,
Yeah.
it sounds like a great idea. When you drill down to
Mhm.
the nuances, like it could work, but it would need to work like this, and it only works
Mhm.
like that. And so
Yeah.
I personally still can't find a use case for it.
Yeah.
For me personally, with our business the way it is. So, all right. Well, I know we've taken a lot of time on a few calls. Sure.
John has his
Um,
hand raised.
okay.
I'm answering Steve in the chat.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Okay, just a couple of quick things I wanted
Yeah.
to kind of circle back on. So,
Sure.
you had mentioned that you have in your documentation all the stain products that you use. Is there a resource, manual, or something that your stain experts can refer to
Hmm.
to
And you have
to?
it. So
Is
just
it
so
in there?
yep. So just so everybody knows, John was at our most recent workshop, just a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, whatever it was. Yeah. So there is a link in the email that Carla sent you, which I guess everybody would have. It just might be a little older, and it goes to a stain wizard at AI Wilson, AL Wilson.
Oh,
If
And
you look
that
on the
is,
product purchase list for some of those products,
well,
there's a
that would
link
be,
to the AI Wilson
okay. Yeah,
sorry.
thank
because
you.
that's where we buy them.
Yep.
I thought there was, and I wasn't sure
Well, we don't buy them there.
where it was at. And then the other question I had was kind of going back to what Craig was talking about earlier about raising prices for pickup
Yeah.
and delivery. I know we're pretty low for our market, and I just had this just happened this week. We have a large Airbnb customer that we do a lot of work with,
Hmm.
and the owner reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm wondering if we can renegotiate our price." And I know we're already low, like I said. And we give her a percent discount
Hmm.
off. And what I'm thinking, I've noticed just in the past 6 months that her business has just expanded. Like she's doubled the number
Hmm.
of properties. It's just crazy. And she's sending us a lot more business. But I'm thinking that she's not managing her own business very well, and maybe she's trying to figure out how to cut costs, and she's just looking at us as a way to reduce. And I
Hmm.
wasn't planning on cutting prices. In fact, I was thinking about raising them in
Hmm.
January. I'm just wondering if it's something you see often, where people come back to you after a while and say, "Hey, I'm
Hmm.
sending you more work. Can you
Hmm.
reduce your price, please?"
Yes, we do. And the quick answer, because I think everybody here's been at the workshop, is the session that we went through on quoting commercial prices. If you remember that like six point process, I just start that conversation all over again. Start right back at the very beginning and be like, look, good news is I know things have changed for you, right? You've grown, you've done this, you've done this. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a conversation, right? I'm not committing to anything. I'm happy. I'm agreeing to another conversation now that the game has changed. So let's relook at the game. And when you're having that conversation with them, either in person or on Zoom, is what I prefer because I prefer to
Mhm.
be able to see their face
Right.
versus on a phone call or something like that. I'm trying to read their body language, but I'm also trying to give them suggestions. So as her business has changed and she has more volume, she has a bigger problem. And the answer is obviously we want to be the solution to that problem, but we want to make sure we're profitable. So the answer would be in the short term, absolutely. Let's have a conversation around this and see what has changed. And then that conversation, right from the very beginning, I'm going to turn it right back on her, just like I taught you in the session of, okay, let's talk through these 6 bullet points and what has changed since I quoted you last time. And if we can find another 10% or another 20%, because I originally quoted you at 100 pounds a week and now you're at 500 pounds a week, Well, yeah, if I had known 6 months ago you're at 500 pounds a week, I maybe, and I'm making up numbers here, but I could have maybe given you another 5% discount or 10% discount. And if I could then I will now. I'll pass that on to you using those kind of those same rules of engagement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect
And
sense.
and one of the things I would also do in there that I touched on briefly in the session is I would also try to like very gently, because they're entrepreneurs too, but I'd try to gently coach them too. Like, if you did this, if you bought a little bit more linens, remember me talking about that in the workshop? If you maybe, yeah, if you bought some more inventory so I can only come every week instead of twice a week, that would allow me to give you another 8% discount. And if your team, for example, were to collect all the linens from the 13 Airbnbs and take them to one central garage, and
Mhm.
I could pick them up from that garage, I could easily give you another 5 or 10% discount. And you'll have to figure out what the math is on that based on your savings. But we're using the same rules every time. If nothing has changed in those 6 rules of engagement, then nothing's going to change price wise. If anything, it's going to go up. And
Okay.
and what you may arrive, I don't know how long it's been, but what you may arrive at is, I'm getting ready to raise my price from 229 to 249. And I know you're at 199. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to raise you to 249. I'm going to raise you to 229. So you're still going to get 20 cents off. You're
Mhm.
just going to get, you're going to go up 20 cents, but you're still going to get a 20 cents discount or something like that based
Right.
on how much their volume has increased.
Okay.
And then if you go into the kitting, which Airbnbs want all the time, that's a whole different animal, right? And they may not want that at 5 units, but they may want that at 25 units. And that's where you have to reframe the conversation there and be like, look, what you're asking for is actually a higher level of service than we've given before. Not only can we not give you a discount, we have to charge more for it. And this is why. And then you can tell them, but once again, kind of put the ball in their court. I always say, let them be the decision maker. Here's a couple, 3 options, right? We can do the kitting, but it's going to be at this price. Or we bring it all back to you and it's, everything's sorted out by bag, but then your team does the kitting. And almost every time they'll choose to punt on the labor. They'll choose to have you do the labor. But really, what you're trying to do is you're trying to sort of bake a cake here of showing how valuable you are. Remember me bringing up that boutique service,
Mhm.
high level of service? You're trying to, I don't know if this is a word, but uncommoditize yourself, right? You
Right.
don't want them to view you as a commodity. You want them to view you as a boutique service. And that's not in a manipulative way, but just in a very psychological human nature. This is the reality of the situation. And we can be A, we can be B, or we can be C. And these each have prices associated with them. What level of service do you need? That's how I would approach it if they come to you every month. I would approach it like they would get tired of me doing the same thing over and over and over again until I find a 7th bullet point that I think is useful, and I'm going to plug that into the formula too. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yep, sure does.
Yeah, good.
We
Awesome.
have Dariana has a question.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question regarding holidays since they're coming up.
Mhm.
We're unsure how to handle like holiday hours since we're like first time owners.
Mhm.
How do you guys handle like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's? Do you work through like those days, or is it worth staying open if nobody's really coming in?
Well, that has been an evolution for us. So I will share that with you because in the early days when we needed the money, quite frankly, we did more of staying open.
Okay.
And what we did do is we would have either minimal staff or no staff. That can be a double-edged sword because we're family people, right? And the holidays are important to us, and having Christmas breakfast in our pajamas. Nobody wants a call. They got to run up the laundromat, right? Type of
Also, if
thing.
you're going to be dead, then you're paying your attendants like time and a half or double
For
time
sure.
too. So
Yeah,
there's
if you're going to have
like
attendance
cost.
there. So
Right.
what we did early on is we would that when we were open, and that's a different conversation. When we were open, we would have a staff come in instead of being fully attended. We would just have someone going for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, 2 or 3 hours in the evening, and the rest of the time the store was unattended.
And when
And
we were really broke, it was us going
yes,
in for
that's
dinner.
right. That's exactly right. But one thing we did learn, and I can't say this will always be the case for you. One thing we did learn is because everyone else is closed, you're going to probably do significantly more business than you would think you would. I'm not saying it'll be a Sunday, But are you, Michelle, you did that? Yeah, that's pretty common. So really, it's not, in my opinion, it's not a matter of if you're going to do good business, because I've never seen a situation where we were open on any holiday, including Christmas, that it didn't justify the cost. Because the big thing is, what I would encourage you to do is be very careful that if you set a pattern of every Thanksgiving for 5 years you're closed, and then the sixth year you're open, and you say, "Oh, that wasn't worth it." Well, the reason it wasn't worth it is because the previous 5 years you were closed, and everybody
Right.
still thinks you're closed, right?
Right.
What we learned is being open every Thanksgiving, and of course we have 4 stores. So if we were all 4 stores were open, then people figured up over the course of a 2, 3, 4 year window. Oh yeah, they're always open on Thanksgiving. Well, obviously
Mhm.
that increases sales tremendously. Um,
Right.
so that's how we've handled it in the past. What we
Mhm.
do today is a little bit different because we have one store out of 4 that's kind of central. It's right in the middle of all 4 of our stores in kind of a triangle. And that
Okay.
store never closes. It's open 24 hours a day. It's attended 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day, but it's unattended 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. every day.
Mhm.
And that store never closes. So even on the holidays, that store is closed for drop-off service and it's unattended, but it is open. And we advertise that at our other 3 stores, which are all closed.
So we
So
just
on those
direct them
holidays,
to that
and they're
location.
roughly, if you were looking at a map, they're roughly 10 to 15 minutes apart. From
Okay.
like one end to the other is a half an hour, but this store is in the middle, if that makes sense. And so what we do is we funnel all of the holiday business to one store, which makes that one store busier. And then we do have someone go in for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, 2 or 3 hours in the evening, and they keep the place clean. And then if any calls come in, they go to our GM and she has to go and deal with those. Right. So
Okay.
that's what we do today. But keep in mind that's 4 stores. Now for pickup
Right.
and delivery, we're just closed. Like we're just closed.
We
Closed.
close
Yeah.
for holidays and we send out text notifications
Yep.
like a week before and then usually a couple days before
Yep.
To all of our customers to let them know that there will not be any pickups that day. And
Yep.
sometimes so we don't do pickups on holidays, but sometimes we do still do drop-offs
Mhm.
depending on how the holiday falls. So we run our pickup and delivery Monday through drop-offs on Saturday. So a lot of holidays fall on Mondays. So a lot of times we don't have drop-offs anyway, so we're just closed. But like if it's a holiday that happens to fall on a Thursday and we are going to have drop-offs, our drivers will still do the drop-offs.
The drop
So
off.
And another
Okay.
we
thing I'll
don't keep
point
their
out.
laundry longer, basically, if we can
Yeah, we
avoid
just
it.
Right.
keep it an extra day, but they know that if we picked up. Michelle
We don't even
mentioned,
keep it an extra day. We usually still do drop-offs. We just don't do
oh, you're right.
pickups
We
that
don't
day.
pick up. Correct.
Yeah.
Because Michelle mentioned, yeah, see you, Brandon. Thank you. Michelle mentioned closing at 6 p.m. That we
Mhm.
have categorized holidays into a couple different categories. The major holidays are really only Thanksgiving and New Year's.
And
Or I'm sorry,
Christmas.
no, I'm sorry, Thanksgiving and
Christmas.
Christmas. And then we actually put, which some people find this weird, but we don't. We put Mother's Day and Father's Day. Those are our 4 major holidays, right? Now, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we are closed, right? We're closed for self-serve and we're closed for pickup and delivery, other than that store that never closes, right? Now, even New Year's Day, as an example, on New Year's Eve, we really think that's the holiday, personally. As far as human behavior, what we as consumers are out in the
Mhm.
world doing, everybody wants to go out and do the fireworks and all that stuff, right? Ball dropping and all that. And so we close early on New Year's Eve, but New Year's Day we open at normal time and we function normally. Like we do
Okay.
pickup and deliveries that day. We're open in the stores. We're fully attended. Drop off is that day. But then we have other days like Easter where we will be open, but we're only open till like 3, right? And what we've learned is that it's not hard to get the team to come in for a few hours. We'll pay them overtime. And if somebody needs to do laundry on those days, a lot of times they appreciate that. Yes, yeah, Craig, thank you. Then they appreciate that being open. And so we've kind of segmented, and then we have days where we're just open, but a lot of times don't do pickup and delivery.
Like
And a lot
4th
of
of
that
July.
4th of July, right?
Okay.
Luther
And
King
and we
Day.
call them, and this is not meant to be disrespectful at all, but we call them picnic holidays, right? So any day where our staff, it's really more of a staffing thing than our customer thing. Our staff, it's hard to get people to work because it's like, oh, everybody's going over to shoot off fireworks and grill out type of thing, or everybody's going to the parade, right? Memorial Day, Labor Day, these types of things. And we do that more for our staff than anything. So we'll be closed for pickup and delivery, which allows, I mean, half of our staff is pickup and delivery. But that allows us, a lot of times the stores will close early if they involve nightly events like fireworks when it gets dark and things like that.
I will say too, for pickup and delivery, our pickup and delivery is also affected by, we have a partnership with a dry cleaner. So we kind of have to not do pickup and delivery when they close because we don't have to want to have to worry about, oh, well, we can pick up, but not if you have dry cleaning kind of thing. So once we're doing all the dry cleaning in-house, because we have the Presso now and we're transitioning to that, we'll have some more flexibility with our pickup and delivery hours as far as holiday hours. We'll see if we change, but I would just want to add that in
and
there.
there are a few exceptions to that rule, even where they'll be closed on a, I don't know, I'm going to make it up, but a Good Friday. They'll be closed mainly because they just want to be closed that day or because they want banker hours or whatever. But our customers are going to be upset if they know we close too much, right? Because especially in pickup and delivery, I mean, you have self-serve's even this way too, but the more you close, the more you break patterns, right? And self-serve, drop off, and pickup and delivery is all about routine for the most part. It's all about the patterns. And when you break those patterns, a lot of times they still want the service. They're going to go looking for somebody else that is open. And so that's where you have to be really careful, especially, and I don't mean to sound arrogant, but especially when you're newer, your brand isn't as powerful. I mean, today we pretty much dominate the east side of Cincinnati. So we can get away with that because they've tried everybody else and they just want to use Queen City Laundry. So for example, when you guys come to our workshops, I mean, that one store is closed to the public those 6 days a year for the workshops even. The counter's open, but the self-serve is not open. Would I recommend everyone in the industry do that to put on workshops? No, I really wouldn't. But the good news is our customers walk to the door and they're always disappointed. They always ask, oh, we're going to open back up tomorrow at noon or whatever. And they always come back at 2. After 15 years, we built a very, very loyal brand and a very, very loyal customer base. And so those are factors you have to take into consideration too. But once again, the first 10, 12 years, I mean, we were open. I mean, we were even open on New Year's or Thanksgiving and Christmas the first 7 or 8 years. And then we eventually figured out we can just funnel them all to one store. And that one store does really well on those holidays. And then she mentioned we do pay time and a half. If the people that do come in for 3 or 4 hours, we'll pay them time and a half. And then I mentioned this too, but for Mother's Day and Father's Day, we do close early those days, but we are open for self-serve and we pay time and a half for those days too. And those are not traditional, holidays for most people as far as like bankers hours and things like that. But what I've tried to look at it through the lens of what are the 4 or 5 most valuable days of the year where your time is immensely valuable, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas is kind of a no-brainer. And to me, I didn't think the next most valuable day was 4th of July or whatever type of thing. I thought it was Mother's Day and Father's Day because I was like, we all either have a mother and father or we are a mother and father. And a lot of us are both. Right. And so that's probably one of the times of the year that one of the days of the year that your time is more valuable to you than ever before. And so if we're going to be open, I'm going to pay a premium for those. And once we explained that to our employees that way, they tended to agree with that. They were like, yeah, I would agree with that. If I have to pick between 4th of July or Memorial Day or President's Day or something like that and Mother's Day, even if you're a man, I mean, you have a mom, or if you're married, you have a wife and she could be a mom type of thing. But most people just agree with respecting those 4 days as far as boundaries are concerned. So we've done a lot of tweaking, but that's what we found works really well.
And if you didn't see, Michelle commented, they did stay open and she said they were very busy, which they just have one location at this point too. They were very busy Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve, and New Year's. So, and
a lot of that can depend on your competition too. I mean, you have to be open because of that. But as I mentioned earlier, if you know your competition is closed, what a differentiator for you to be open
and
you
change
will
those
be
habits.
That's exactly right. There are always people that, Thanksgiving, I mean, some people celebrate the day after, the Saturday after, the Sunday after, the day before. A lot of times maybe they're a nurse and they have to work on Thanksgiving Day or something like that. So there are exceptions to everything where people want your services, but we found it's a balance between our team because we have a team of 50 now. So we try to, when we had 3, you could have a conversation with 3 people. With 50, it's like, okay, we know half of them are going to be mad if we're open on Thanksgiving, type of thing. And then as we've gotten older and built a more powerful brand, we're a little bit spoiled. So we're like, I just really don't want to call on Thanksgiving Day. I'd rather just spend the day with my family. So we can afford that luxury.
Yeah, I mean, Renzo was going to look at like our competition around to see if they were
Yeah.
going to be open or if they were going to have like
Mhm.
different types of hours, because we have noticed that in the previous holidays that have
Mhm.
just passed, we've been very busy.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to like, we didn't know where to balance that out, you
Yep.
know?
And it's a year by year thing. But one thing I would caution you, I mentioned earlier, if the owners before you were always closed on Thanksgiving and you decide to be open because Dave and Michelle said to be open on Christmas Day and it's not a success, it may be a success eventually, but you may have to do this for 4 or 5 years before you
Yeah.
see much value of that. And you can't get to year 2, 3, and 4 without doing year 1. And a lot of people operate that through a vacuum and they look at it through, oh, well, I was open one Christmas and we did no business.
Put signs up in your store a
Yep.
good 2
Yeah.
weeks
Promoting it,
ahead of time.
promoting
Some
it.
Okay.
people do laundry every week, but some people it'll be like every 2 weeks. And that
Yes.
way that hits those customers and lets them know, hey, we will be open
Yep.
whatever day.
And the
Yeah.
opposite is also true. If they're used to you being closed, or I'm sorry, if they're used to you being
Open.
open and all of a sudden you close, oh my gosh, you
Advertise at
ignite
least 2
you
weeks.
ignite a firestorm, right? But just because you ignite a firestorm the first year, you do it for 5 years in a row, and they just begin to accept the fact that Queen City Laundry isn't open, or they are open, but you got to go to the Anderson store, right?
Yeah.
So habits are hard to break, and sometimes people get all fired up when we don't like change, right? Especially negative change. And
Mhm.
so the first time you make that change, they might freak out and you might think, oh my gosh, this isn't possible. I can't be closed on Sunday like Chick-fil-A. Well, the reason Chick-fil-A gets away with it, see you, Larry. Thanks for coming. The reason Chick-fil-A gets away with it because everybody on planet Earth knows Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday and they have been forever and they will be forever. And so they just accept it as like, oh, I can have Chick-fil-A 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Do they like it? I mean, I don't. Sometimes I want Chick-fil-A on Sundays, but you live with it.
So I know that like the previous owner, he used to close for like all
Yep.
holidays.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I think it was just because he didn't want to pay the staff.
Could be.
Um, but I mean, we've noticed that we've been very busy in the
Yeah.
previous holidays, and our employees are all up for, working those
Yep.
days. They don't have like any
Mhm.
reservations against that. And, if we've seen it pretty busy, in
Mhm.
those holidays, and we're thinking these coming up holidays will also be very busy.
Yeah. I would suspect they would be if you have been in the past. I know
Yeah.
another thing we did, and I'm not saying you have to do this or it's right, but another things we did when we started to making these changes to our business, excuse me, as far as holidays and stuff like that, is one of the decisions I made is if we're going to be open on, for example, our Anderson store, the store that never closes, it's open on Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? And Mother's Day, Father's Day. It's open 24 hours a day. My GM does all of our staffing now. Yes, absolutely. Michael says update Google and things like that for sure. But another thing I did is we go to now we have a big enough staff where it's never an issue. But 5 or 6 years ago, I would go to all of our staff and say, hey, let's try to get volunteers for those days. Now, the fact they get time and a half tends to help that. But what I always said is, excuse me, when we started closing early or being open and different things like that, I always said, I'm not going to force anyone to work those 4 days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So if we're going to be open and we need somebody to come in and clean, I will pay time and a half. If they hadn't jumped at that, I might have changed it to double time to try to incentivize them. And if that didn't work, I always said, if none of the staff wants to come in, then I'll come in. Like I'll come in and
Right.
clean. I'm not going to require somebody. I put a premium on those 4 days. Now, you can do what you want to do with that. We've never had a problem if somebody almost every time you have a couple of those hustlers that are like time and a half. I'll work 12 hours if you let me.
Yeah.
And as you have 50 people, I mean, our team is even cross-trained at different stores. So, I mean, they don't even have to stay at their store. It's like, well, your store's closed, but if you want time and a half, we need a volunteer for the evening at Anderson. And they're already trained there. And so they'll happily go over there and get time and a half or something like that.
Okay.
So that's something to consider too. That was just a personal thing for me. I was like, I'm not going to force someone to work those 4 days. I mean, if I were a mom and had little kids at home, I wouldn't want to be forced to work on Mother's Day. And for that matter, a husband, my mom and my mother-in-law and my wife are all mothers. I wouldn't want to be forced to work those days either. So that's just something I always saw as kind of, if I need to, I'll take it on the chin for the betterment of the
Dave's
staff.
on a soapbox.
Yep. Yes, I am. Okay, I know we're over on time, but thank you all for hanging in there. I know some of you had to leave. Just as a reminder, don't forget that this is recorded. Carla, how quick will this episode be up?
I don't know.
Okay, couple weeks. She'll be out on a Christmas day. Okay, how about that? But just a reminder, we do this every month as long as you are a community member. So good seeing you. Also friendly faces. Have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys in December. Okay. Take care. See
Bye.
you guys.